Katera Rising by J.D. Evergreen. Chapter 23. Bargaining with a quelton. Lexa raises an eyebrow.
You actually found a quelton?
Nathaniel nods.
She is waiting by the side of the road up ahead for us.
He pauses and adds,
I'll warn you now, she is a cranky old quelton, and she said we shouldn't bother returning unless we could be sure we had something of interest for her.
Lucas runs his hands through his hair.
She threatened to bite me when I asked her what she was willing to trade.
Nathaniel lets out a gruff bark of laughter.
Actually, the old fuzzball might not be that bad after all.
I look between the faces of the group around me. Everyone seems to follow Nathaniel's words just fine. I am still stuck back at what a quelton is. I guess I will find out soon enough. Lexa pulls her leather shirt straight and brushes off some dirt.
What do we have of value?
Melissa scrounges through a pocket.
I have the coins we took from the guard. How many?
Lexa questions. Melissa draws out her hand and reveals 10 gold coins and 4 silver coins. Lexa picks up a gold coin and inspects it.
These will be of some value, but the exorbitant prices the trader will likely have will reduce the potential of these.
The coins? Nathaniel and I say in unison. The group looks at us like we are crazy. I dig the coins out of my pocket and hold out 3 large silver coins engraved with the image of a phoenix and the word Solaris. Lexa's eyebrows furrow and Nathaniel offers,
These coins are scarce. Collectors will pay hundreds of gold coins just for one.
Lexa smiles.
Excellent. At no point is the trader to know how many of these we have.
I nod and hand the bag over to Lexa. Nathaniel grunts in approval and leads us through the mass of beluga trees. We hike for almost 15 minutes before we stumble across a road with 3 large parked wagons and a group of humans. I pull at my shirt as sweat dribbles down my neck and I wipe my chin. When did it become so hot? Melissa wipes her face beside me.
We have to be near a lava field?
A lava field? I question. Lucas runs his hands through his hair.
Red-hot liquid that will turn you into an overcooked pile of char that even a goblin would turn down.
Oh, I say. Lexa gives me a small smile.
It is okay. They are still pretty far away.
I glance at the female humans off to the side of the road, pointing to us. How do you know? Lexa rolls her shoulder and loosens her leather vest, revealing the dark blue tank top underneath and collarbones I have far too much interest in.
Because the temperature is still bearable,
she says with a gentle smile. I reach for Lexa's hand and the woman turns to face me. Maybe I should stay here, I say quietly. Lexa looks over my appearance.
You should come. This will be an excellent test run to see if anyone is familiar with you. Besides, bartering with traders is a skill you should learn if you are going to stay with the rebels once this is all over.
My heart thuds in my chest. I had never considered I could make a home amongst the rebels. And what happens if they recognize me? Melissa leans over.
It is doubtful that these people have ever been to the capital. It is true they have handed out flyers, but it is unlikely the humans received one.
Lexa nods thoughtfully.
These people are probably on their way to or from a mandatory delivery of food and goods to a guard station, where the food will be assessed before it is escorted the rest of the way to Voltron.
Lexa catches a glimpse of my confused face and elaborates further.
Voltron is the capital of Shadow Soul.
I swallow. What about the quelton? Tash fidgets beside us.
They definitely know the meaning of gold coin. Speaking of which, she is on her way.
Lexa shifts and meets my eyes.
Do not make eye contact and try to remain unnoticed.
I nod and casually work my way to the back of the group. A small creature approaches us. Except for the face, palms, and feet, it is covered all over in luscious, silky black fur. The quelton is about hip-high, with shrewd black eyes that glitter in the dim light of the cavern. She takes her time and stops in front of us with confidence. She is so little. Should she not be afraid of what 6 large humans could do to overwhelm her? Instead, everyone around me seems to be nervously shifting about. Even Nathaniel looks uncomfortable. The only person projecting any sort of calm is Lexa, who steps forward to greet the creature with a bow and presents her open palms to the small quelton. The quelton peers into Lexa's palms before offering her the same courtesy. A small hairless snout sniffs the air before she announces,
I do not do real names. You may refer to me as Miss Q.
Lexa doesn't miss a beat.
You may refer to us as Rib.
The small creature bows her head. What do you have to trade?
What do you have to trade?
Lexa pulls the gold coins and presents them. The quelton sniffs in disgust.
You stopped my travels for 10 gold coins?
Lexa smiles and procures a silver coin of Solaris.
We also have this?
Miss Q perks up, profoundly interested in the coin Lexa is holding.
May I look?
Lexa hesitates for a moment, but hands the coin to Miss Q.
I believe in your honor.
The creature wriggles her snout in delight.
I see someone has taught you excellent manners.
Miss Q takes the coin, twirls it in her fingers, and then gives it a bite, revealing a mouth of razor-sharp teeth.
This may be worth something,
she mutters and hands the coin back to Lexa.
Let us see what we have to trade.
Miss Q leads us alongside the wagons, and I eye a huge creature, taller than me, standing placidly beside us, comfortably as wide as the wagon it pulls. Its broad square feet are flat, and each foot possesses 6 long toes, 3 at the front and 3 in the back. Its long, flat head has 2 tiny, round ears twisting and swiveling, listening to the sounds around it. I pause to study the creature as Miss Q leads Lexa and the others to the front of the wagon. The giant beast looks at me with big brown eyes, which are nestled at each end of its long, flat head. A row of long eyelashes surrounds each of them, making the creature appear incredibly friendly, if not slightly dopey. Its wide mouth is currently chewing on some kind of seed coming from the large open bag resting in front of it. It lets out a soft snort and swishes its tiny tail happily. Smiling, I reach out to pet its large shoulder and find it covered in tiny grey bristles of hair. The massive creature slowly turns its head, so one of its big brown eyes focuses on me. It gazes at me for a moment before blinking and returning to its meal. A small voice from my left says,
His name is Bruce.
I start and look left, spotting a little blonde girl with deep brown eyes. She appears to be about 8 years old. And what is Bruce? I ask, smiling down at the child and glancing over at the beast.
Bruce is a Tangera and also my best friend,
Announces the small girl proudly as she pets Bruce on the nose. The Tangera snorts happily at the girl's attention, and he gently nudges his huge face into the girl's chest so she can hug him. His face is probably the only part of him the small girl can get her arms around.
Jamie, it's time for supper,
Calls a middle-aged woman with matching blonde hair who is sitting across the road with another woman.
Okay, Mom.
The little girl calls and skips over to her mother. Sweat runs across my brow, and I wipe it away and follow Lexa's lead by loosening my shirt for some air. I hurry to catch up. Luckily, it seems like no one has noticed my absence. Lexa looks over the assortment of goods Miss Q has spread out across the back of her wagon. Lexa gestures to the items.
4 knapsacks, 3 water canteens, 6 blankets, and a recent map of the underground for the coin.
Miss Q places her hand over her chest.
My dear, you are robbing me with that deal.
Lexa gives her a knowing smile.
We both know how rare that coin is.
Miss Q drops all pretense and looks over the items Lexa has separated.
3 knapsacks, 2 water canteens, the blankets, and I have a map out front.
Lexa considers the deal.
I would like to see the map first.
The quelton nods at one of the humans, who jumps to her feet and runs to the front of the wagon, speedily returning with a rolled-up map. Miss Q snatches it from her hands and presents it to Lexa for inspection. The young woman looks to be around my age with long, flowing brown hair and startling blue eyes. Her eyes scan each of us. I don't miss the way her eyes rake up and down Lexa's figure. Lexa carefully inspects the map.
This will do.
She looks up from the map and eyes the large creature one of the women is skinning and cutting into slices.
What is that?
The quelton turns to look.
That was a large cave goat that I hunted.
Lexa nods.
3 gold pieces for 6 large slices.
Miss Q wiggles her snout, offers a stiff nod, and waves her hand at the young women standing behind her.
You have a deal.
The young woman with startling blue eyes darts across the road when the kettle by the fire releases a shrill whistle. My body moves before I can think. My hand flies to my sword. My breath catches in my throat. Enemies. Pain. A fight. No, I force my grip to loosen. It's just tea. Just tea. I exhale slowly, shoulders tense. The others are staring, and I look away, focusing on the fire instead. The quelton eyes me.
She is a twitchy one, isn't she?
Lexa glances at me and nods.
They usually are the first time out.
The quelton lets out a sharp-toothed grin.
I am sure a capable woman like yourself will whip her into shape in no time.
The quelton eyes Lexa.
Do we have a deal?
Lexa looks over the items and offers her hands palm up.
We have a deal?
The quelton is quick to place her palms over Lexa's. Melissa, Nathaniel, and Lucas stuff the purchased items into the backpacks and sling them onto their backs. The beautiful young woman returns with a steaming mug of tea. Her eyes again linger a little too long on Lexa. I grit my teeth. Miss Q takes the cup and points towards the skinned goat.
See that 6 large steaks are cut off that beast and prepared for our visitors.
The young woman bows her head and she skitters over to relay the information. Lexa hands over the gold coins and the large silver piece. The quelton is quick to slip the coins into a pouch hidden amongst her fur.
We are the last shipment, and the guards are not due for another 2 days. Would you care to have my girls cook your meal for you so you can remain for lunch?
I study the way Lexa's shoulders tense at the suggestion.
You are most kind. Thank you for your offer, but...
Excellent. Miss Q cuts in, putting an abrupt end to Lexa's reply. Lexa's jaw tenses.
Who are we to decline such welcome hospitality?
I narrow my eyes. Lexa's body language and words don't line up, not to mention the way the rest of the group fidgets uncomfortably at our lunch invite. Miss Q turns to the young women.
Arnita, come see that our guests are welcomed.
The woman with bright blue eyes rises and makes her way over to the wagons. I eye her with distrust. The quelton turns to us.
I have some things to attend to, but I will join you shortly.
Lexa offers a small bow and presents her open hands once more, the quelton repeating the gesture. The young woman from before, Arnita, approaches us and gives Lexa a large smile.
If you come this way, we will prepare your food.
We head off across the road. Melissa mutters to Lucas behind me.
This quelton must be very rich to afford 3 personal slaves. They all look well fed too.
Lucas adds. We arrive at the campfire, which only makes the unbearable heat around us worse. The mother and daughter look warily at Nathaniel and move to the other side of the flames to resume butchering the cave goat. I glance back at the wagon to find the quelton has vanished from sight. Arnita hurriedly hands everyone a cup of tea before basically sitting on top of Lexa and engaging her in conversation. Nathaniel sits next to me, the tiny metal cup ridiculously small in his hand.
I don't like this.
Lexa lets out a small bout of laughter and Arnita places her hand on Lexa's forearm. Heat creeps up my neck and I take another sip of my tea, too fast, too hot. My eyes burn into the back of Arnita's head as she leans in closer, pressing her arm against Lexa's. I tighten my grip on my cup. I don't like this either, I mutter through clenched teeth. Tash leans in and smiles at me.
Smile, Claire. We don't want them thinking we aren't happy with this arrangement.
Lucas lets out a nervous laugh beside me and his forced smile looks a little maniacal.
Unhappy? That quelton could be halfway to the nearest town already.
I pull my eyes away from Arnita and Lexa. What do you mean? How close is the nearest town? Lucas holds his hands up.
Who knows? All I know is queltons are just about the fastest things in existence, and they have a temper to boot.
Melissa nods.
You should never cross a quelton.
She points at the cave goat.
Just look at what she did to this poor creature.
I look up at the hanging carcass, and my eyes are drawn to deep lacerations around its throat and haunches. Miss Q did that? I ask with a dry throat. Melissa takes a sip of her tea.
Miss Q probably did that in a good mood.
I glance back at the carcass the woman and child are cutting into sections. I think I would like to see her mad. Nathaniel shifts his massive bulk.
Queltons make even me nervous.
My eyes are drawn back to Lexa, and I turn just in time to see Arnita loosen the laces that hold her top together, revealing an eye full of cleavage.
It certainly is hot near these lava fields,
She says in a light voice.
Have you seen them?
Lexa sips from her tea and smiles at the woman.
I haven't had the pleasure.
I take a sip of my tea and glare at the woman as she speaks.
Oh, there are plenty of pleasurable things to do around here.
I choke on the liquid, and Melissa gives me a resounding whack on the back that helps to dislodge the tea from my airway. Lexa looks over with concern.
Claire, are you okay?
Melissa grins at Lexa.
She is just choking on her drink, but she is fine now.
I take in a gasp of air and nod my head, grateful for Melissa's words. There is absolutely no way I could have spoken just yet, as my body is 100% focused on regaining air. Lexa gets up, but is stopped by the young woman, who takes hold of her hand.
I could show you the lava fields.
Arnita says hurriedly.
Arnita, leave our guest be.
Miss Q snaps as she marches into our sitting area. Arnita drops her hand from Lexa's and looks pleadingly at the quelton.
Can I have an afternoon pass?
Miss Q assesses the woman before looking over at Lexa.
You may have an hour, if the woman is agreeable. At least this one cannot get you pregnant.
My heart hammers in my chest as I watch Lexa consider the young woman. Lexa holds out her hand to the young woman, who eagerly grasps it and climbs to her feet. Lexa addresses her.
You are beautiful, but I do not wish to lie with you.
Arnita snatches her hand away from Lexa. Her eyes dart around the group and lock eyes with mine. The look is of pure hatred. Arnita lifts her lip in a snarl and stomps off into the stunted trees that surround us, disappearing into the dimness of the cavern. Lexa rubs the back of her neck. Miss Q chuckles.
You are the first to turn her down in a long time.
Lexa turns to face Miss Q.
I did not mean to offend.
Miss Q sends Lexa a sharp-toothed grin.
You most certainly did not offend. In fact, it was the highlight of my afternoon. Arnita is willful and does not appreciate what is given to her.
She is treated better than most slaves, I say, without thinking. I stop myself from going any further, but I have already drawn attention to myself. The quelton raises an eyebrow.
Is that so?
I stare at the ground. Melissa nudges me with her elbow. I swallow. They are all extremely well cared for, clothed appropriately, and allowed leave with permission. My throat goes dry, and I force out the words. You treat your investments well. The quelton rushes towards me with surprising speed. She has rounded the fire and stands in front of me before I have even managed to shift my feet. I look into her glittering black eyes and realize they are, in fact, a deep brown. Her pupils are much larger than a human's, and I can only assume Miss Q can see better in the dark than me. She takes my face in her small clawed hands, and I can feel the sharp claws press at my skin as she inspects me, running her little paws over the bones of my face.
You have not been treated well. I can feel numerous badly healed fractures and breaks.
She grasps my hand and inspects it, muttering findings as she goes.
Calloused hands, healed knuckle breaks. A fighter. Could it be you?
My stomach drops. I go still, frozen under Miss Q's sharp, knowing gaze. How could she know? No one should be able to just feel the fractures in my bones, the breaks in my past. No one should be able to look at me and see everything. Her eyes lock onto mine. Something grabs hold of me. I gasp, but my body refuses to move. I can't look away. I can't blink. Something cold and searching claws its way through my mind. Memories I never meant to share flicker like flames. Fists slamming into my ribs. The taste of blood in my mouth. My mother's arms around me. Lexa's fingers brushing against mine. I try to shove her out. Try to fight. But she's inside me, pulling at thoughts like a thief rifling through pockets. And then I see her memories. I see a small fluffy creature I can only assume as a young quelton, playing amongst siblings. The image flashes to a guard forcing the littlest quelton into a bag. A tall, shadowy creature forces a collar around the small quelton's throat and lashes it to a pole before pushing a red-hot branding iron into its shoulder. I hiss as it burns into my arm as if it were my own. The quelton fights back, and a guard prods it with a metal rod. The little quelton twitches violently and the memory ends. Miss Q blinks, and the connection is lost. Well, that was quite the encounter. Who knew bargaining with a quelton could be so intense? I don't know about you, but I'll definitely think twice before accepting tea near a lava field again. If you enjoyed this chapter, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and leave a comment below telling me your favorite moment. Whether it was Miss Q's fierce negotiating skills, Claire's reaction to Anita's advances, or maybe Bruce the friendly Tangera. Honestly, we all need a Bruce in our lives. Remember, new chapters of Katera Rising drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next chapter.